Alright, this is the first video in the Building a Professional Pedalboard from Start to Finish series that I'm making. You can check out the playlist in the description. I've done a lot of work on the pedalboard so far, but in this video I just want to kind of share with you the hardware that I've decided on. A couple months back I got a really big pedalboard, 34 inches wide from Waggi, and I decided that was just too big. I traded it in for the 28-inch version, a little bit more compact. It's not going to have so many pedals on it, which means it'll be under a certain weight limit for flying, and you'll see how I'm wiring this whole thing up in a second. In this video I'll just walk through the cabling, the connectors that I'm using, what I'm doing with the patch bay that I'm going to make, and then also just a lot of the other smaller components that go into building a pedalboard and making it really convenient for the working musician. Alright, let's take a look at it. Alright, so this is the Waggi 28 pedalboard. You'll notice it's double layered here. These handles do not come with it. I had these for a while. You can get them at Creation Music Supply. At least that's where I remember I bought them years ago, and if they're not there anymore, I'll try and fit the link in the description to similar ones that I found somewhere else. So anyway, let's just talk about how this whole thing is laid out. That top flips up there. I've done a bit of cable routing. I've got my power supply here. It's the Cioks DC7, thanks to Zounds.com for the pedal board and the power supply and a bunch of other stuff to sponsor this video. So the DC7 provides 7 outputs, each at 660 milliamps, and you can change the voltage on it. I have everything set to 9 volts right now. And then the C8E is an extension, so I only have one outlet coming here. This will be mounted into the patch bay eventually. Where is it? So that kind of routes down underneath, goes into the brain, the DC7, then goes to the C8E for an extra 8 outputs. So 15 total outputs. I'm only using 14 right now there. You can see the spare one. So that's the power here. I'm just using the cables that came with it. They all happen to be perfectly sized for a lot of the spaces. And you'll notice here with the cable routing, I've done this with 3M zip tie locks, they call it, or zip tie mounts, and then obviously you use a zip tie with it, cable tie if you're from the UK, and that's how you keep everything clean. I have a couple mounted here I haven't used yet, just because these are just kind of being placeholders right now. They'll get torn out eventually. On the top here we have my MIDI modulation effects. They'll all be controlled by MIDI, so the Empress reverb, echo system, and then the Wampler Terraform, which is somewhere on the floor over there. Eventually I'll have a MIDI controller here. So let's talk about the dual lock. On the pedal board, I'm using the dual lock, 3M dual lock SJ3551. You'll see it's very fine. And then on the pedals, let's grab a pedal here. I'm using a different model number. This is the TB3550. Everything's going to be linked in the description again. And this is kind of a wavy design. So the thought process is here, you'll notice I don't have the whole thing rigged up with dual lock because it'll just be impossible to get the pedals off. If I'm using 2 different models of dual lock, then it'll just be a little bit easier to get it off the board. You don't want it to be too easy. That TSA just kind of destroys it. But you don't want it to be impossible to the point of you're tearing at the pedals so hard that you're bending them or something. So I use 2 different kinds of dual lock for that. I caught that in a video from Vertex Effects. They've been really helpful. And then I also have these plastic, they called them car upholstery removers. Basically, it's a set of little crowbars that are conveniently featured to help pull pedals off of dual lock. It is still very hard to get them off the dual lock, but not as bad as if I'd covered this whole thing, certainly, and not as bad as if I was using the same model number zip lock on each side. Alright, now you might have noticed there's actually a little USB cord in here, and this has to do with getting to the USB output on the HX stump and also the Morningstar MC8. This is just an easy way to program them. However, once the pedals are on the board, they're going to be really hard to get to there. So what I've done is I've gotten a couple USB cords. You can find them in right angles like this too. And what I've done is I'm going to rig them up to the pedals that need USB output And then on the patch bay on the side, which will eventually go over here, there will be the USB cord connecting them. Now for the patch bay, and this is one thing I haven't done yet, so there's going to be another video on putting this whole thing together. But what I've done is I've gotten a hold of a bunch of locking switchcraft parts. Some of them were easier to find than others. So we've just got, this is a TRS jack that'll be for headphones. This is a TRS jack that'll be for amp controls. We've got TS jacks for left and right out. And then we've got, yeah, that's USB made by Switchcraft. These ones were the hard ones to find. So we've got USB Type A and USB Type B that feed to a USB plugs in the back, the opposite ones. So I've got one for the HX Stump, one for the MC8. I have another in the mail that'll actually be to, well, the Cioks has a USB 5-volt output to charge a tablet or a phone. So I figured I'd make use of that, and on the patch bay I'll have another one of these USBs dedicated to providing power for a phone or a tablet. Forgot to mention there will be this little pretty DI box. This is the DISO, plus stands for dual ISO, made by Pinstripe Pedals. We've got a summing switch there, some throughs if I want to go 1/4 inch, or what I'll probably be doing most of the time is going XLR stereo. So the whole board's wired in stereo, and then I can basically decide what to do with my signal and what the sound guy wants. I can do anything with this thing. This is perfect for if you're using modelers like I am with the HX Stomp, if you're going direct. It's just absolutely essential. There's going to be a whole dedicated video just to this DI box and why this is something that you might need to consider. So finally, let's take a look at the cables I'm using. This will be the last part of the video. I settled on they're called square plug. This is the square plug 400. It is the smallest design on the market. Thinner than pancake plugs, thinner than anything else. It's a soldered design. I wouldn't use solderless for anything. So this is the SP400, which is just the standard TS version. And then if you need TRS, which can be used for stereo sometimes, or you can use TRS for a lot of stuff, the model number is the SP550S. Let me see if I can get that there. For the cable, I went with the Megami, where is it? 2314. For the TS stuff, and this stuff is just really, really flexible. It's relatively cheap. It's high quality, and it's super flexible, so it's perfect for pedal boards. The stereo wire is a little bit thicker, so it's Megami 2552. This is so hard to get it to focus. Cool, and that's for the stereo plugs. So 2552 for the stereo plugs, and 2314 for the normal TS plugs. There'll be a video on soldering these things. They're pretty easy to do. I got frustrated at the beginning because I wasn't real great at soldering, but by the end of it I was in a rhythm and rolling. I did pretty much all of it last night. So just a little bit of work to do. I got to build the patch bay yet, and it should be finished pretty soon. You're going to see a lot of videos. Stay tuned to the playlist, Building a Professional Pedalboard. This has been part 1. There'll probably be 5 or 6 other episodes. And yeah, take care. I'll see you in the next one.